In a world where myths and symbols dominate the narrative and change the way we live our lives, one woman tries to find the truth. This is the real tour guide of Notre Dame du Lac.
Hi, I'm Katie from Chicago, and before you ask, I have a boyfriend. This tour was commissioned by Father Dankins, patron of procrastinators and supporter of good, clean fun. A few safety announcements before we begin our tour. This God Quad is equipped with multiple sidewalks for your safety. Please keep all hands, feet, blankets, papers, dining hall chairs, and statues off the grass at all times. Behind me, you'll notice a pair of steps. We won't be going up those today, so please don't ask. I know you have no choice in who gives you your tour, so thanks for not complaining. Welcome to the main building at Notre Dame. After burning down in 1879, it was swiftly rebuilt, and Father Soren commissioned the man who painted the basilica to paint these murals of Columbus. The funny thing is, these murals say nothing about Columbus, but they do say a lot about the sentiment of the nation at the time. Let me explain. The U.S. didn't, and to a large degree still doesn't, like people of color. It's a cold, hard truth. By law, these people were considered 3/5 of a person. The Irish were considered to be people of color. They would have been with them. Enter Columbus. He had largely been forgotten at this time until this surge of Catholicism. Spain used him as a way of justifying its place as a world power. America used him as a coming-of-age symbol. The Knights of Columbus used him for Catholics, and so did Notre Dame. We wanted a place in this country, and so we told the story like this.
You told me we weren't starting for 3 more hours.
These are some pretty paintings, aren't they? I mean, look at it. Catholics, they have a place in this country. We found it. So, take that, you damn Protestants. You have Martin Luther, we have Columbus, and Ted Hesburgh. Look at his tragic end. Like all martyrs, Christopher Columbus paid the price. And he's a saint for whom America is lucky to have.
That literally did not happen. He was sanctified, not a saint. Ask the pamphlet, available upon request from admissions. Everybody believed him. He then enslaved hundreds of thousands of natives to mine his gold. He died in comfort. His descendants still carry the title Admiral of the Seas.
Admiral of the Seas, they're just paintings. Why does it matter?
Because this became a stamp. A fucking stamp! At the Columbian exhibition. Literally, these paintings helped shape the discourse of this country. And Columbus himself shaped the hemisphere. He's the one who started us down the path of taking wealth and land from natives, as well as pioneering the transatlantic slave trade. And the slave trade is what led America down the path of inventing race in the first place. Not to mention it led to capitalism, and we all know how I feel about that.
Have you been to a casino in the U.S. recently? Natives are doing just fine.
Natives, after everything they've been through, are still pushing, still trying. They refuse to be conquered. And it's spitting not just on the graves of those who died, but in the faces of those who still march on.
We just need better, less offensive history. And you can't buy that on eBay. It's not my fault it happened like this.
America had people in it long before Columbus. People like to forget that a lot. Father Baden was in the middle of Indian removal. His missions were filled with some natives that were forced out west. There was one young priest who loved them so much that he went along with them. He died along with them too. I can think of at least one modern man who would ban people of color from this land, and he's best known for his strange toupee. By honoring Columbus with these murals in such a prominent place, we reject everything that happened. We disremember. We use them as trite stories about the colors of the wind, but in the end, we learn nothing.
Quit trying to ditch me. And why does any of this matter? It's not like it teaches me anything about homework. It's not like it helps me pass finals. And it certainly doesn't help me pick up a girl at FEE.
Maybe not, but don't you think it's a discussion that should happen?
I don't know, and I don't have to know.
I'm an American. And you know what? These savages, they didn't know anything either.
Who do you even know here?
This is a cemetery, not Locke's house.
Enough! Why are you so stuck on this one story that's been told 1,000 times before? History isn't always a constant march of progress. You like to think that these people were savages, but they weren't. Most anthropologists think that these hunter-gatherers were more peaceful than their agriculturalists or modern counterparts. Doesn't that say more about us than about them? It's almost as if this blind patriotism and fealty is rooted in some of the evils that we cannot ignore.
You know what? You can't argue that they atrophied. They did. Their societies fell apart. And you know why? They couldn't handle their fire water. Not like a Notre Dame student.
Donald Trump called. He wants his monkey back. We killed these people off. Europeans shifted their focus from knowing all kinds of tools to specialization. Capitalism, even then, is a dangerous thing. Europeans created a cultural imperialism that made the natives dependent, and then they could do whatever they wanted, include force them out west. Alas, the Potawatomi were some of the last in Indiana spared simply because of their Christian conversion. Religion normally has good intentions, but we all know about those. At least they have a beautiful resting place. At least the congregation understood the tragedy they underwent. At least, for the most part, we understand the terrible plight of the Indian. At least here. Sometimes when looking at natives, we can't start at 0, we have to start at -10. But maybe if we all saw through their red eyes, we'd be better off.
Why are you such a downer? History isn't all depressing.
The good stuff will get its time like everybody else. Welcome to Hesburgh Library. I'm standing in front of the most famous side of the building, the Mural of Life. You probably know it as Touchdown Jesus. The building is named after Father Theodore Hesburgh, who was a once-in-a-generation kind of man. He's the reason that the university is the great institution that it is today. But these are all things that John can tell you about at another time. I'd like to talk about something else. Father Hesburgh served on the inaugural U.S. Commission for Civil Rights. In its first 2 years, it passed all 12 of its recommendations nearly unanimously. 11 unanimously, 1 5-1, all while fishing on Notre Dame's Land O'Lakes compound. Fishermen, it seems, do the best job. Just ask this guy. Father Ted was a central figure in the U.S. Civil Rights Movement, even linking arms and standing with Martin Luther King Jr. Notre Dame has always embodied this kind of spirit, whether it was fighting the good fight against the KKK, although that was more of a Catholicism thing, but I digress, or the protests against Guantanamo Bay. Notre Dame is a place where we're forced to confront the ideas of what justice is and what justice does. Even today, students and faculty stand in solidarity with those at the bottom of systems of oppression. And like any good school, we must be critical of the dominant narrative our society tells us. We must not forget that the world we live in has many myths and mysteries, but that can't stop us from living in it. There is real pain in what we live, but if Notre Dame teaches us anything, it's that we are greater than that pain.